Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday, February 24th. We're talking women's footy today. Darian Jenkins, Sandra Herrera, Christine Cupo. I'm Lisa Carlin. Guys, good morning. Welcome into the chat. If you're with us live on YouTube, guys, we love you. Like this video, subscribe to our page because we're going live following U.S. women's national team matches. Plus, the NWSL season is around the corner, and we're going to be going live all the time. So you want to know when that is happening. So join the conversation in the chat, ask us questions, say, hey, hello, hi, what's up? Especially to Sandra. We missed you last night, Sandra, but how are you? Good morning.
I'm feeling good, feeling great. Thanks for holding it down. Wedding planning is in full effect. So there were some scheduling conflicts that happened with that and this. So I appreciate you for holding it down.
So we're not an NFL podcast. We might be a wedding planning podcast now. Let's see how
it goes. I need all the help I can get. Let's go.
Hey, I planned a whole wedding last year. I got you.
All right.
No,
right.
We got to change the A3 theme song to that for Sandra.
Oh, I like it, Christine. Get in the booth. You can record it for us. Okay, enough of the wedding talk. I love it, though. Let's talk women's footy. Don't go anywhere. We're diving into our Attacking Third episode next. Hey everyone, welcome into Attacking Third for Monday's episode, diving into everything women's football. We have a special interview with Bay FC head coach Albertin Montoya. We're talking specifically about KC Current, what they have to do ahead of the season, and then we look ahead to Wednesday's SheBelieves Cup match between the United States and Japan, and I couldn't do it without my friends, Darian Jenkins, Sandra Herrera, and Christine Cupo. Good morning, guys. Good morning, Dee. Christine, I saw you guys last night following our recap, and now we get to go again. How was your 12 hours without me, Darian?
It was great. I White Lotused, I Real Housewives, I Severanced. It was great. Sunday's my night to catch up on all my shows, so as soon as we got off, I went back to that. It was perfect.
Sounds like a lot of rotting and watching TV, which is
always. That's
ideal.
what Sundays are for.
It's pretty.
That's what Sundays are for.
Christine, you've had a busy day already. Morning footy. Thanks for making time for us. We appreciate it.
My numero uno. Of course, I'd be here. But yeah, now that Darian reminded me that in the midst of me prepping and being on live with you guys, that I missed the new White Lotus. I gotta go. I should go. like. Oh man, nobody better spoil anything for me. I'm already locked in and waiting for the episodes to drop. But yeah, happy to be with you guys again.
Nice.
We're good. I don't speak English anymore again. Happy to see you, Sandra.
Oh, happy to see you too, Cupo. I know you've been putting in that work, so you're looking great. And in the Golasso studio while you're joining us. Appreciate y'all. And again, appreciate y'all for holding it down last night. But I'm happy to get into things today with you all because I also can't be without you for too long. So you're also lucky to only have a 12-hour break in between. I've been apart for much longer.
I know we've missed you. We were still texting you last night during the U.S. game, during everything. But we are continuing to celebrate Black History Month across CBS Sports platforms and properties. And specifically here on Attacking Third, we're doing a little tribute when we can on the shows. We're each picking someone that we want to give a little love to. Sandra, we've missed you so much. You're up today. Take us through our Black History Month tribute.
Yeah, it's my turn. Listen, this was homework that I was so happy to have, and I'm really excited to continue our celebration of Black History Month because I am so excited to celebrate the extraordinary legacy of Candace Parker. I wanted to continue this trend that we're following in honoring and learning about athletes and people across different sports and areas of life. And I think Candace Parker is absolutely a true icon in every sense of the word, whether it's within the world of basketball or post-playing career with everything that she's been doing off of the court, whether it's in broadcasting and, in her business endeavors and charitable works as well. So, of course, I also wanted to have that little bit of a tie to a local legend in Parker who has roots in Naperville. And I think that's honestly where we have to start. I mean, this is a person who has achieved so much in her career, and it starts as a teenager. Like Candace Parker was bringing titles to the great state of Illinois when she was a teenager, doing things out in Naperville. But I think she really landed on the scene in college when she went to Tennessee. She achieved so much as a young athlete there as well. We're talking multiple titles, and like even within making so many highlight reels, she was setting records within all of these other accolades that she was achieving, like first player to ever dunk in like an NCAA tournament as well. I remember the highlights on that. It was incredible. And she's been to multiple Final Fours and obviously won national titles alongside Pat Summitt and the Tennessee Vols. And then when she got into the WNBA, of course, she was the #1 selection overall to the LA Sparks. And in her time in the W, continued to achieve so much. 2-time WNBA MVP. She is a 3-time WNBA championship with the Sparks, the Sky, and the Aces. And she's a 5-time WNBA All-Star. And in her rookie season, she not only won Rookie of the Year in 2008, but also won MVP. And of course, she has endless accolades within that, multiple double-doubles, just one of the absolute most decorated players in basketball history. Of course, I am very attached to that 2021 title for the Chicago Sky because it came at really the latter stage of her career. She came to the Sky with just 2 years on a deal, so not a lot of time to go ahead and deliver on a promise, but she ended up doing just that for that fan base and that franchise and got the title. But I think what's equally impressive of everything that she's done on court, this would go much longer if I went through every single accolade, but what she's been doing off of the court as well. She did a lot of this alongside her playing career, but now she's fully focused in being a businesswoman, working in her charities, and doing her broadcasting career as well. She's someone that we have seen on NBA TV and on TNT. She's sitting in the booth or on that table giving all kinds of analysis. And if there's somebody who knows ball, it's absolutely Candace Parker. She shows it all the time whenever she is calling any of these games. And I love that she's always done such charitable work. She often is in the communities of her WNBA franchises to go ahead and do all kinds of great charitable work. She started the She's Got Time initiative. It supports working mothers. And of course, Adidas made her the president of women's basketball in their organization. And that is a huge title for her to have. But she's more than an athlete. She's an absolute role model. And she's a philanthropist. She's an absolute visionary. And I really wanted to highlight her as someone who has really, she's someone who like is a role model across all different types of life, whether it's in professional sports, whether it's in business. She is someone that is a role model for Black women, for the Black community, also the LGBTQ plus community, as she and her wife and their beautiful family just exist and live their lives as just regular people day to day. So she's absolutely a role model to kids, and I would say even adults. She has a very iconic quote in her Chicago Sky post-game presser, because after everything she achieved, whether it was an Olympic gold medals, WNBA titles, individual accolades, you still have to maybe get a little bit reflective at times. So she does that during the 2021 post-game, and she drops a quote that resonates with me whenever I'm feeling really low or undermotivated and overworked. And I think we're going to share it right now.
I was just wondering, what message does you all being here today, send to all the kids out there who watch you win today and know that everything this team has overcome?
I think sometimes you don't have to tell your story, time will. And I think that that's something that I've lived by. And I think everybody up here has had that moment where they felt like they have to tell their side of the story. And you don't have to. Just put your head down, continue to work, do what's right, be a good person, work hard, give energy, and the world will give back to you. So I think that's my message with all of this is you don't have to yell from the rooftops who you are or what you do. Let time tell. And and just enjoy the moment.
All right, we have time for one more question.
Candace Parker, baby. Thank you. Happy Black History Month.
Oh, mic drop. Sandra, well done. That was beautiful. I love Candace Parker, everything she's represented. She's been a big inspiration for Black Women's Players Collective and everything she stood for. Yeah, that was a really good shout. I love that. And I love the mic drop. Literal mic drop you could have done. Just exit the show after that. So great job.
I definitely needed the mic drop for the levity, because as soon as she started to talk and her voice shook, I was like, I'm going to cry now. It's going to be a reactive cry. It's a good quote, but like all of the emotion that goes into that is a buildup of everything that she's done. I don't know, to achieve all that in a singular career and lifetime that's continuing to unfurl is phenomenal.
I'm always so impressed with the people that we're talking about in this Black History Month tribute, and how humble they remain despite all the accolades that they've achieved and all the growth that they've done for their sport, for the Black community, for Black women, all of it. But they still remain humble, and that was cool. I loved how you ended on her quote, Sandra. I remember that when it happened, and hearing that, and it gave me chills then, gave me chills now. I'm glad you guys started talking first. I was a little choked up. Really cool to hear from Candace Parker.
Let's get amped up. Let's have the best show ever. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go. If Sandra Herrera is not going to hype you up, Candace Parker is not going to hype you up, Albertin Montoya will, hands down. Darian and I had a chance to chat with the Bay FC head coach in his second year with the expansion side, Bay FC. We had a great interview with him. You can go watch the full thing on YouTube and listen to the full thing on our podcast feed. We're going to drop some clips for you now because Christine, Sandra, you guys haven't heard it yet. So take a listen to what Albertin Montoya says about his second year as a head coach of an expansion team. What's one thing that you're going to do differently to start this year?
So I do believe one of my strengths in coaching is the way I'm able to connect with players and get to understand the human side. And, you know, the first 6 months last year, I didn't really know much about our players and our team, and that's on me, right? There were so many things going on in our organization, and I could have done a better job of that, and I take full responsibility for that. And this year, I'm able to just go and speak to the players. We're just connecting in a very different way than we did at the beginning of the season. So it's kind of like how we left off, right? So the conversations are not only just about football, but they're about everything that we do, and family and hobbies, and it's just something that I think is very important and that I value, having that relationship with the players. So the fact that we can kind of joke around in a certain way, understand each other a lot better, they understand what I'm asking of them and why I say certain things, and just, you know, just more familiar with each other. So that's the really, I mean, biggest difference, and what I'm enjoying more so than, I mean, that's what I'm enjoying. That's what I've always enjoyed as coaching.
Refreshing, honestly. I mean, there's a lot of teams right now that are coming off of off season and are currently in preseasons where their rosters are getting looked at, and maybe people are noting the fact that there's a number of turnover, and a lot of times there's always going to be question marks around you know, what is the environment like, and that typically has to come a lot from the coaching and the staff and how they're helping to kind of create said environment for the team. So it's not often that you're going to hear a coach say to media that they fell short in a year, or especially in an inaugural season. But I have to say that's actually kind of refreshing to hear that you're noting your own shortcomings and you're trying to tackle those and be better for year two.
Yeah, the accountability aspect from Albertin doesn't really surprise me. I think that it's a little bit illuminating, having spoken to him on coaches' calls about the players, how he says, you know, he didn't really get the opportunity to know the players as much. And the fact that he leans into that so much makes a lot of sense, but it's also it's nice to hear that he's that involved in sort of the human player mentality side of it, not just the, okay, you're a midfielder, here's what you need to do, kind of dicing things up like that. I never had the benefit of being coached by Albertin, but I'm curious, Darian, has he always been fundamentally like this as a coach?
Oh yeah. Guys, I was so awkward and scared of confrontation when I was a kid. And I remember my club coach told me to go at the end of one of the national team camps before U17 World Cup, I think, tell him, hey, I want to be here. I want to be a part of this team. I want to learn. And Albertin was like, Darian, you're fine. You don't need to act like this. You can just be yourself. I know you're quiet, blah, blah. He's very intentional about understanding who the player is, how they communicate, because we've all spoken to him. He's such a friendly guy. Like, he's salt of the earth, wears his heart on his sleeve. He overshares every single time we interview him. He admits that. That's exactly how he is. So I can't even imagine the pressure of coming into an expansion side and needing to win, needing to place with the players that you brought in, like big money players. So to hear him take accountability for that and say, you know what, this year, I'm just getting to know players. We're having fun. We're enjoying off the field stuff. That's truly what's going to translate to on the field. So I'm excited. And I love hearing a coach take accountability.
For sure.
So rare. So rare.
It's also like you can't even blame him though, because it's an expansion team last year. They were trying to establish everything in the club, the traditions that they were going to do, the type of team they were going to be, how they were going to play on the pitch, and then dealing with injuries. He's trying to manage staff and the travel that comes with playing in the NWSL. And there was a moment in our chat with him, D, where he did, of course, take accountability, but he was like, I needed to do that last year. And it took a little bit for him in his first season and for the team to fully come together. He also talked about that in our interview. I think we have another.
Albertin, was there a moment last year, you alluded to after the summer break, where things just started to gel a little bit more, but is there a particular either training session or game that we watched where you were like, this is it? This is what we've been working for. This is what Bay FC is.
Actually, as bizarre as it may sound, it was the first half against Barcelona. So yes, they weren't playing all their starters, but we played what was our starting lineup. And I said, look, let's just go at them. We've got nothing to prove here. Let's just go at them. Let's attack. Let's press them up high. They're not used to getting pressed, right? I mean, it's Barcelona. Everyone kind of sits back, and let's just go at them. And we had a great game against them in that first half. And everyone just felt it, and our players were talking about it at halftime. We were talking about it after the game. And then in the second half, we made changes. We let all of our players play. We let our rookies kind of experience it. And it wasn't until later in the game where they got some of those goals. But that first half, our football against arguably the best team in the world was actually pretty impressive in front of our home fans. So there was just something that clicked. And during that summer break, it allows us to do different types of training sessions, things that I like to concentrate on a little bit more. And I felt like I was being myself, and our coaching staff was being themselves and able to do things a little different. I've always said some of our training sessions and the way we go about doing things can be a little bit different. And they accepted that, and it just clicked. But it's that Barcelona game. I go back to it. They started really believing in themselves, and then that win at Portland, because that was not long after that.
Huge.
That win at Portland, the way we played, and then from there on, we just started believing. You go into a team that's been so successful in this league and a franchise that's known to be as one of the best, and go to their home stadium and have the success that we did, just kind of that laid down, just that framework. And it was that was those two games, I think, were the biggest difference for us.
We're back, and I have thoughts. Listen, I love that he mentions the summer as a turning point for Bay, because when you go back and look at their schedule, the evidence is there. It's not that I was surprised. I'm pleasantly surprised to hear him mention that Barcelona game specifically, because it happened so much later in the summer. We're talking like end of August, and I would argue that some of their turning point happened even maybe a little bit earlier in the summer. Like, I think of that Wrigley Field game that they had against Chicago, which was early June, and they ended up stealing one in such a kind of really high stakes environment in terms of a historic venue and a historic record setting attendance. But then you look at where they go throughout their summer, and they sort of cap it off with this game against Barcelona, which I think is notable, especially because they were a team that were a little bit active in that summer transfer window. So it's almost like they hit a little bit of a reset button in a number of different ways, whether that was in results on the pitch or players rotating in and out. So I'm very curious to sort of see how they build off of that. I mean, obviously they're going into this season as a playoff team. They fell short against the Spirit in that opening round of the playoffs. So is there enough here on that to build off of that sort of second half momentum to ride out through an entire year in 2025?
I think that with the way that Bay had progressed over the season, and the instances where Albertin was trying to get this team to essentially play his style and understand tactically what he was asking of them, there were a lot of times as they were sort of growing where you saw that they were trying, they weren't getting results, but he had, and I remember him saying this was like, they're doing everything that I've asked of them, the results will come. And I feel like taking that approach and seeing how they did sort of plateau, even given, granted, expansion side, a jaggedy, raggedy season, and then pointing out this Barca game, it makes all the sense in the world. And um, I think it speaks to a lot of that like stick-to-itiveness that he has, and then now also paired with sort of the relationship building that he's done with this team. I think they're going to come back into this season NWSL firing.
Absolutely firing. I think a big adjustment, Sandra, Chris, you both touched on it, was the addition of Abby Dahlkemper coming into the back line. That leadership, that previous connection with Caprice Didasco, the ability to play out in different ways than we saw.
Wait, how do they have a previous connection, Darian?
The UCLA Bruins! Everybody get a floor clap. No, I'm just
Go
playing.
Bruins!
But yes, thank you. But then they also bring in Kelli Hubley this offseason. We all thought she was going to San Diego potentially, but sorry, San Diego. Bay acquires her. And Lisa and I, before the interview, I was saying, I can imagine that this adds another layer for Bay to be able to play a 3-back. And we got to ask Albertin about that, especially in their friendly this last weekend.
You brought in Kelli Hubley to be part of your team. How is she gelling with everybody? How is she doing in preseason? And we can't help but wonder, could we potentially see a 3-back with your 3 center backs you now have?
Again, I get in trouble sometimes for just like speaking my mind and speaking too much. It's funny you brought that up. Well, I'll go back to that in a second. Kelli Hubley, you should have that conversation with her and ask her how she's doing and if she's enjoying it, because from what we've seen and the conversations that I've had with her, she's been pleasantly surprised. Remember, I mean, we're an expansion team. I don't think she was expecting to see the level of organization that we have and the support and the way we have come together as a team. So she's enjoying her time with us, and I'm really happy and excited to have her with our team. And going back to the 3-back, I am considering playing a 3-back against San Diego this weekend, because I was thinking about that last night, going over the formations, and I'm like, well, with what we have, and we're experimenting on a few things. Joelle Anderson, she's been doing really well as left center back as well. She's a natural left-footed, so I'm like, okay, Joelle on the left side, Kelli on the right side, Abby in the middle. That could be a pretty good option. That might be interesting. So I'm actually looking into it for Saturday's game. So we will see. But this year,
news dropping here.
Yeah, no, this year we'll experiment a little bit more with different lineups as well. The first year was just kind of getting the base, simple 4-3-3 on how we were going to play it. We went into a 3-5-2 just a couple times, but this year we're looking forward to just tweaking the lineup a little bit, from time to time, depending on who we're playing and if it's needed.
I love it. How many times did we say or hear last year for Bay, all gas, no brakes, all gas, no brakes. Let's go. And there were moments where they wanted to get there, but there was like a hitch in their giddy up, and for some reason they just couldn't really get going. So you have to wonder if like maybe, just maybe, finally having that first year where for some folks looking at it, expansion side, maybe they overachieved a little bit by breaking through to the playoffs in the first year. Making these defensive moves could lead to that sort of all gas, no brakes attack, because sometimes when you want to have that and you maybe want to play out the back, or you want to make sure that you have all hands on deck in terms of getting up the pitch, you have to make sure that your back is actually capable of doing those things, or that you're confident in their ability to connect those passes. So not only did they, I think, get a player in Albie Dahlkemper who can help kind of solidify those things, but going out and getting Kelli Hubley, I want to make sure whoever can get credit for that, because I'm pretty sure someone on the show, I think it might have been UD, said that of the free agents, maybe they should go out and get a Kelli Hubley. And they went out and they did that. And that's going to, I think, add layers to that attack. And you don't think that a defensive move is going to maybe lead to that, but I think for Bay FC, it could. And I love to hear that they're trying it out already in preseason, because this is why these preseason fixtures are so important. It's the time to try stuff. You absolutely have to try it. So good to hear that they're doing it.
I loved the shout of the 3-back-2 and bring in another really strong veteran center back who's proven in this league to be somebody that you can build a back line around, and you have Dahlkemper and you have Caprice Didasco. But looking at Bay last year, there was so many times where we saw Kundananji having to track all the way into her own 18 to defend. Everyone on their attack, Tess Bodie having to be into the 18 to defend, as opposed to being able to maybe sit in sort of a mid to high pressing position where if they do regain the ball, or possession is switched over, they actually have the ability to attack, and they're in a better position, a more gratuitous position to go at a back line. And I don't think we were able to get the best out of some of those players, some of their attacking players, because they were so focused on defending and having to track back. Then when you finally get the ball, you're so low on the pitch that it's at a disadvantage to you. So bringing in those defensive reinforcements, I think, is going to suit their attack even more, because now you can let those players cook. We can see Rachel Kundananji swagging out on the ball, taunting players, going 1v1. Hopefully see more of a connection form between her and Oshiwala, Tess Bodie, and just look more effective in the attack. I think we saw so much of the potential the latter half of the season, and hopefully they pick up where they left off at the start of this one.
It is completely possible that we see that with Bay FC, because we did this interview last week ahead of their Coachella Invitational friendly this past weekend against San Diego, and he rolled out with Joelle Anderson as the left center back, Abby Dahlkemper as the central center back, and Kelli Hubley as the right center back in a 3-5-2 formation. We could see, I think, formational fluidity from Bay FC heading into 2025, which would elevate their game entirely to the fact that they could be a title contender or a postseason depth team. They made the postseason in their first season. We did a poll on YouTube to see what you people think, because you fans, you know it all. You do. Thank you. 64% of you say that Bay is going to make the playoffs again in their second season. Only 21% say they're not getting past the regular season. 7% say it'll be a deep run, with 7% saying that they are going to win the title. You 7% winning the title. I love that. I know Albertin Montoya would love to hear that as well. Okay, guys, we are going to switch gears, talk a little bit NWSL next. Don't go anywhere. Attacking third. We'll be right back. Hey everyone, welcome back to Attacking Third. Big NWSL breaking news happening this morning. We're talking about it live on Attacking Third. San Diego Wave have acquired Canadian national team forward Adriana Leon from Aston Villa on a contract through the 2026 season. It is for an undisclosed fee, but Adriana Leon, goal scoring machine for Canada, is back in the NWSL. She spent a lot of her career here, starting in 2013 with the Breakers. She played in Chicago. She played with Western New York Flash, with Sky Blue, Seattle. She was on loan in the 2023 season with Portland Thorns, but now she's back under Jonas Eidval at San Diego Wave. Darian, is this a good move for the Wave?
This is a great move for the Wave. I mean, I've been curious about how they're going to turn out, how many players are going to stay. They have a lot of French players now. I think bringing in Adriana Leon is a huge, huge asset. I mean, think about her and Cascarino up top, and Maria Sanchez up top, Savannah McCaskill feeding balls in. I mean, this could be a team that actually shocks us all from the offseason that they've had and all of the drama. I think that this is really, really, really strong move for them because she has been cooking with Canada. And I don't know if we got the best out of her at Aston Villa. So for her to come over here to the US, play for San Diego, where there's a huge opportunity and not a lot of expectation from San Diego going into the season, I think this is a huge way to prove herself and really lead this team because playing against the US, she's scored a bunch of goals. She knows this league. She knows these players. She can come in and make a statement.
Leon's a bit of a bruiser too. She's going to get stuck in. She's going to find different ways to score. But Sandra, does this mean that there's a Sandra bomb coming, a breaking news? Where does the crown go now? Which is the best league in the world?
I have to say a huge thank you to Adriana Leon because guess what? If their best talent in the Women's Super League is coming in NWSL, that means the crown is back in NWSL.
So back.
We're so back, and it is thanks to the Canadians and Adriana Leon. So thank you so much for coming back. No, I mean, I'm with you though. I think it's a great pickup for the Wave. They need all the help they can get going into this year when it comes to producing any type of offensive energy and getting balls in the back of the net. Just yes, a bruiser, but also like I mean it's in the highest form of a compliment. Such a pest, such a pesty type of goal scorer. You know, we've seen it, and we've seen her do that for club and for country. I mean, just watching this game against Mexico in the Pinatar Cup, just when you think maybe she's not going to have an impact on the game, boom, she scores a goal. So that's the type of goal scorer she can be, almost kind of a sneaky, snipery type of goal scorer. And maybe that's what San Diego needs to get the goal scoring going this year.
San Diego looking for brighter days with Adriana Leon on the team. I'm really excited to see her make waves with San Diego. No pun intended. Okay, guys, we're doing team needs. We're talking every single NWSL club and what they have to do to maintain or to bolster up their team, their tactics, their roster heading into 2025. And today we are talking KC Current. I'm rocking the kit, so it was a bit of a giveaway for you all. Kansas City Current, they finished in 4th place at the end of the 2024 season, 55 points, 16 dubs, 7 draws, and only 3 losses. They were tied with Orlando at the end of the season for the best goal differential in the league at 26, and they reached the playoffs after missing out in 2023. One of their biggest acquisitions in the 2024 offseason was signing Claire Hutton, the young teenager, to a 3-year deal under the U18 entry mechanism. So she is continuing to play with KC. Plus, they rolled out their new home stadium at CPKC Stadium, the first stadium in the world built solely for an NWSL sports team. Plus, KC sold out every single home game, 11,500 fans. They had Temwa Shawinga come in and make waves. She became the first player in NWSL history to score 20 goals in a single season. She won the 2024 NWSL Golden Boot and then became the NWSL Most Valuable Player in November of 2024. Congratulations, Darian. You called that one all season.
Oh, Lisa, who's on the back of that kit? Is it Shawinga?
I'm wearing Shawinga today.
Yeah.
I'm wearing
Come on.
Shawinga.
Yeah.
Come on.
I know.
Oh, girl.
This Kansas City team, though, they were impressive to watch last year. They went on an undefeated streak. Their last 8 matches that they played, winning 6 of them. And they only lost 3 games all year. And it came in a streak in the middle of the season. 3 games in a row that they lost before Vlatko Andonovski helped turn things around. Postseason, they made it to the quarterfinals where they defeated North Carolina Courage 1-0, and then they lost to Orlando 3-2 in the semis, who Orlando ultimately went on to win it. So far, this offseason, they've picked up Brazilian goalkeeper Lorena. They've also signed midfielder Rocky Rodriguez from Angel City and goalkeeper Laurel Ivory. They signed 3 players from college, Claire Gagne, Mary Long, and Katie Scott, to bolster up this lineup. But when you think about, Sandra, Kansas City in 2024, there wasn't that much they needed to improve upon. If you could nitpick Vlatko Andonovski, what needs to get better for Kansas City in 2025?
I think they want to get a better start defensively, maybe than they did in 2024. I think when we go through all of the teams as we have been on this show in terms of the preseason previews, we kind of break things down into the tale of two halves. And every team really kind of has some threads of that a little bit. But I think for Kansas City Current, it's specifically within their defensive shape going into the start of 2024. They bled a lot of goals with the lineup that they had back there, whether it was Eddie French in goal or losing Gabrielle Robinson to a season-ending injury after she was having such a really, really good season on the back line. It looks like they were gelling with her and Elizabeth Ball. So how is that going to look in 2025? Because there's a little bit of that shakeup again. They tried to address that a little bit mid-season in 2024 in getting Schultz to kind of shore up things and shake things up at the goalkeeping position. And then they really went on this incredible defensive run to kind of close out their second half of the season. So how does that look over the course of a full year in 2025 while they've made some more adjustments in these positions? I mean, when we're looking at the goalkeeper union here for Kansas City Current going into 2025, Schultz and French are not listed on this preseason roster. They went out and they made acquisitions. They got Lorena, the Brazilian goalkeeper, Laurel Ivory, as you mentioned. Claire Gagne is on there. Evan Osteen is on there as a U18 player. So there's a number of things here that I'm looking at defensively still for Kansas City going into 2025. Who's gonna get that starting goalkeeper position is number one. Who's it going to go to? Who's going to earn that out of preseason? And number two, how is that going to affect the back line and how are they going to gel to open up the season?
I like that, Sandra. I agree. I actually had a note on this and I'm like, I mean, does Kansas City really need to improve on anything? Okay. Maybe besides, yes, adding depth in their back line because, yes, they bled out goals a lot of the time. I mean, remember that season opener against Portland? That was absolute insanity and became a theme for the first half of the season. Yeah, they're going to outscore you, but you're going to score on Kansas City. That shouldn't be the narrative for Kansas City this year. I think they have a lot of depth. Vlatko's a very defensive coach. Every time he talked to the press, it was, yes, but we need to work on set pieces. That's how teams really capitalized on them. And I think that's something so fixable. But other than that, maybe expanding the stadium, getting some more seats since you sold out every single game, bringing in even more fans to come into that gorgeous place where the players get to play. I think it's become a fortress. And so, hell, expand it because you guys are leading the way on how an NWSL team should come into the league and have a new specific stadium for themselves. But I still think Kansas City is going to be a team to be feared. I mean, they didn't have to change much from last year into this year.
No, I think the only player that I truly and deeply miss is Bia. Just goal scoring, goal creation, the link up that she had. And yes, they don't have a shortage of possible goal scorers or actual goal scorers on that side, but there was still a decline once Bia got injured, in contrast to her productivity while she was active. And also, I just really like the style of play. She is great.
Michelle Cooper getting calls up with the U.S. Women's National Team, making a big impact in the SheBelieves Cup that's happening right now in the international window. I am so excited to see her development, playing alongside Temwa Shawinga with Debinha, with DiBernardo underneath of her. This is a player that I want to take the next steps in her career. Plus Claire Hutton getting some international time. It's a really good group that Kansas City has put together. I would say defensively, that is the biggest question mark for them. solely because of their goalkeeping. Who was going to be the starter? Who's going to dominate? Laurel Ivory got time, and she's played time in the NWSL. I think it might be a bit of an adjustment for Lorena to, get up to speed with how Kansas City and the NWSL want to play. So it's going to be a test for them. So I could honestly see Kansas City starting out 2025 the same way they started out 2024, leaking goals, conceding, while also still finding the back of the net, because someone like a Rocky Rodriguez to be brought into the midfield for Vlatko is going to help settle things down, help distribute the ball. She's a veteran leader that is going to get Kansas City over the hump, if there ever is one, in order to kind of push through the entirety of the season. So do we think, guys, that Casey's going to make postseason? Do they have a chance to win? What's going to happen? Any early predictions for the postseason for Kansas City, Christine?
We will see them in the final again.
In the final?
In the
Yes.
final?
Yes.
Wow.
I'm jumping way ahead in time. I'm grabbing my crystal ball. I shined it up.
So they're going to get past the semis for you?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
I was gonna say semis.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with semis. That's where I feel comfortable. I'm happy for them to prove me wrong and make it to the final. But I think everybody's leveled up. Everybody kind of knows Kansas City's game this year. I want to see them. How else can they be dangerous that's not really relying so much on Shawinga? Yes, they have. I want to see these other players shine as well, not just Shawinga, because she was incredible last year. How do we get the best out of Michelle Cooper, out of a Kristen Hamilton, out of a Dabinia? I mean, they're absolutely stacked. So I see it semifinal, but everyone else is leveling up too.
When you look at the fact that like Ellie Wheeler as a rookie, Claire Hutton as a rookie were starting and playing like almost full 90 from jump, and now knowing that they have their bearings about them coming into this season, I think that's a hell of a leap from like your rookie year to getting all those minutes.
My only concern would be depth.
Mm-hmm.
If injuries happen, and we saw that happen a bit last year with Kansas City, right? Gabby Robinson, early in the season, she was going to be a defensive stalwart for them. I don't wish that upon anyone, but I want there to be options for Kansas City. And that's if there's a lot of injuries happening, that's where they could run into trouble. That's the only thing I see.
Where's it? I think the goalkeeping position, the defensive shape, look, depth, I think are going to be similar challenges that they find themselves dealing with in 2025. But I think in 2024, they figured it out and they had an incredible season. And I'm sorry, we are absolutely not going to count out any team that has Temwa Chawinga on their roster. They are absolutely going to go return to the playoffs and make a deep run 100%.
I'm so interested to see how opposition defend against her, because they've had an off season to continue to watch tape, see what
it
happens.
Don't matter.
They had all season to watch tape.
Matter. Yeah, you had 25 games last year to watch tape, and she was still scored on every single team. Like,
I know, impressive.
You could have been
broken for Temwa.
Could have been on field holding your iPhone, scrolling through her tape while you were trying to D up, and she's still smoking it.
Well, Christine, you said Kansas City's going to win the title. 16% of the poll also says that Casey's going to win the title. Only 11% say they're not even going to make the playoffs. 38% say they do. And 33% say it's a deep run. We'll see. All eyes on Kansas City in 2025. U.S. Women's National Team, they play Japan in what is arguably the match of the SheBelieves Cup. We are previewing all of it when we get back. Stick with us. Hey everyone, welcome back to Attacking Third. The United States Women's National Team, they take on Japan in the final match day of the SheBelieves Cup, and it is absolutely going to be a battle. Top of the table, Japan's undefeated so far. The U.S. is undefeated. U.S. coming off a 2-1 win last night over Australia. Sandra, we did a whole recap. We talked about it. But we didn't get your thoughts, and we want to know, what'd you make of that U.S. game against Australia match day 2?
Such promise, but large stretches of falling short a little bit. But I loved I got to shout out the starting lineup. Thank you guys for the shout out last night. Coming off of an episode where I just said that none of Emma Hayes' lineups are ever going to be predictable. Moving on, in my preview, I was able to nail it. So I was like very, very excited about it. It's probably going to be my one dub that I get this year. Watch. So I'm going to cling to it forever. But great start, as you all were chatting about last night, but not capitalizing on those opportunities allowed Australia to kind of work back into the game and really kind of suck back some of that momentum. But Claire Hudden, incredible game, incredible debut. Giselle Thompson, incredible first start. I am a Giselle Thompson truther. I'm here for it. Let's see her get more caps in that role. I thought she had a really good start against Australia. Kind of really gave Caitlin Ford another game where she was a little bit invincible for the Matildas. And God bless Emma Hayes and the coaching staff for preaching patience and saying that they're going to have these players develop in due time. That is her job as a coach. My job as an analyst is to look at what I'm seeing with my eyeballs on the pitch, and I love what I'm seeing from these young players. So shout out to Hutton and to Thompson. I thought they had incredible games. I'd love to see them get some more minutes. We
all had to do our players of the match, Sandra, last night. Do you have one? Who would be your U.S. player of the match?
You know what? I'm gonna go a little bold, and I'm gonna stick with Thompson because this is a player that wasn't on the score sheet, right? And got this first start, and I think maybe for some stretches of the game, people might not have noticed her, and that's not necessarily a bad thing for a player getting their start, and maybe just maybe was tasked with by the coaching staff to kind of flex some more of those defensive muscles versus the creating and counter-attacking type of muscles, which I believe are huge assets in her toolbox, and that we'll probably see a lot more for club, maybe for national team. But Emma Hayes has said that she really needs to make sure that they develop specifically at that outside back position. And she wants to have more depth for the fullbacks. And I think we're just seeing the start of that depth. So thanks. I'm sure Emily Fox is saying thank you somewhere in there.
You and Lisa were giving flowers to Giselle for that defensive performance. Defenders stand up.
Yeah, you guys are in sync. I was thinking about this after the show, and you guys, they were playing against pretty much Australia's A team. Their starting lineup, they're going to bring out against the best competition they possibly can. And these young guns getting, some of them their debuts, some of them their first time ever playing against the Matildas, showed out. I mean, you're playing against an Ellie Carpenter, a Caitlin Ford, a Steph Catley, a Haley Rosso. I mean, I could name so many Matildas, but truly players that have been playing at this level for so long, and these 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds were showing out and silenced a lot of them. I mean, if this is the starting point for the youth of the U.S. to come in and play on the full team in the SheBelieves Cup against competition like this, and they can silence them, the future is bright and really scary for anybody that's looking to play against the United States.
That's Japan a good shout, Darian, because when you also point out, remembering that we're calling this the US's off year, right? Because they're not going into a major competition. However, both Australia and Japan have Women's Asian Cup next year. Australia are hosting. And that cliff between sort of Tony Gustafson's departure and this inter for Tom Sermani, they're floundering really poorly. It seems like there's a lot of questions being asked of them, but they can't execute irrespective of that. And these are teams that, okay, yeah, the Arsenal Aussies too, that look night and day between club and country.
I think for everything that we're watching from the United States women's national team program and all the praise that we're giving the rotation and the debuts that we're seeing, it feels like a little bit of the opposite for Australia. I mean, they got one back in this game, but it's coming from one of their most veteran players. And you have to wonder,
out of retirement.
Who's came out of retirement? Thank you. It's like, is this the answer? Because it cannot be, because obviously they didn't have Sam Kerr, but you have to wonder for this particular era of Matildas, what does it mean when they are another 2 years older for this next cycle, and then what happens beyond. So I think there's some definite concerns there, and I think obviously Mary Fowler's a potential answer to a lot of those things, but I think that is layers of concerns there, and that she's unable to kind of get going and find some attacking scoreline type of stats here during this SheBelieves Cup. So we'll see how they close out this final game against Colombia, but for everything that United States was giving, it's the complete opposite for Australia.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it into perspective, Sandra. If I'm a Matildas fan, I'm actually pretty disappointed in the fact that they couldn't do anything without Sam Kerr. Like, it's been a bit of a cliff fall when you have in Australia so many talented players, right? Mary Fowler, Cooney Cross does such a good job. There is talent there. It's just not able to come together. A lot of that having to do with coaching turnover. There's a lot happening at Australia. They get one more match in the SheBelieves Cup against a tough and physical Colombian side to prove themselves and get some goals in, right? They've only scored one this tournament so far against the United States. A team that sits atop the SheBelieves Cup table right now is Japan, because they have had back-to-back 4-goal games so far in the SheBelieves Cup. They started the tournament with a 4-0 win over Australia, and just yesterday beat Colombia 4-1. Goals from Momoko Tanikawa in just the opening 20 seconds of the match. And then Mina Tanaka also had a brace before the 10th minute, and then a penalty kick in the 80th minute with Maika Hamano in the 57th minute, also getting a goal for Japan. Japan is going to take on the United States. Now, the last time we saw these two teams go head-to-head was the 2024 Summer Olympics in the quarterfinal. I rewatched the highlights this morning. It was an ugly fight.
Mhm.
Japan was compact. They sat back, and it took until extra time, that 105th minute, for Trinity Rodman to get the 1-0 win for the U.S. to defeat Japan. But the U.S. and Japan have played each other a number of times. Even SheBelieves Cup in the semifinal last year, Japan scored in the opening minute, and the U.S. had to fight back. They ultimately did, winning 2-1. But now, Darian, when we've seen Japan in back-to-back games of the SheBelieves Cup scoring 4 goals in each game, how is this Japanese side the most dangerous in where they could hurt the U.S.?
It's in the way in which they score in a variety of ways. They're no one-trick pony. They're not a team where you're thinking, oh, they're going to get the ball wide, they're going to try to isolate and cross it in and get on the end of a cross. No. They're going to, in the opening 16 seconds of a match, shoot a shot from distance and score a goal. They're going to score off penalties, off of set pieces, off of corners. Beautiful run of play, combination play to get into the 18. I mean, they've showed that they've added layers into the way that they can score and get into the attack. We knew that Japan, going into even the Olympics, they were going to be compact, they were going to be disciplined, very organized defensively, but it was a question of how are we going to see them build into the attack against an equally tight defensive, probably physically stronger defensive team. And I think that we've seen them kind of crack that and be able to break teams down. I mean, against Colombia, I was surprised at almost how they were able to compete with the physicality that the Colombians brought. They did not shy down. They were going to tackles just as hard. They were cleaner on the ball, putting it into spaces that broke down Colombia's press. And we saw the same thing against Australia. So I think the U.S. has their hands full. I really like this test going against a really strong Japanese side who are scoring in a bunch of different ways, because it's going to test these players in the way that we all know that Emma Hayes wants to be tested. But this is the matchup. This is the matchup of the tournament. I can't wait to see really the lineup, because I think that's going to dictate a lot of how Japan even attacks the U.S.
Yeah, I think something that I love about the rivalry between Japan and the United States is that this United States program loves the opportunity to play against Japan. Someone give me the deep dive on how the scheduling matchups work. But there's something to note that the United States makes sure that they play Japan in important games when they do have these small tournaments. Last year, when it was a condensed version of SheBelieves Cups, it's like they said, hey, we play Brazil a bunch of times. we got to make sure that we play Japan. Now this year, it's lining up that
It
way
is
again.
all by design.
It's calculated, right? So I'm here for it. I think we've got potentially another one of these 1-0 score lines in the makings here for this one. It's an opportunity for Japan as well, because like you said, Lisa, that was a tough game in the Olympics. It ended up needing what was it, extra time, and they just couldn't really get one past the other. So it's going to be an opportunity, I think, for both of these teams to kind of flex their organizational skills, their defensive prowess. I mean, who is going to get that start in net for Emma Hayes? You have to wonder if it's going to tip in the scales are going to tip in the favor of Jane Campbell. She's got the more caps under her belt, the more experience. And this is an incredible game to maybe have a test as a backline and as a goalkeeper, because of Japan's ability to score from all over the place. So I'm absolutely looking forward to this one.
I'm a little nervous for how good Japan's midfield is against a U.S. midfield that has been trying to find different pieces. And I think it leans a little bit into, how is Emma Hayes going to play, right? Is she going to continue to be really patient, play a little uncomfortable football to give players time and experience against a very talented Japanese side who is so good in every single phase of play? And they do a really good job at controlling the tempo of the game. I mean, do we think Japan's going to sit back like they did in the Olympics, Christine? Like, what kind of tactics or deployment do you think we'll see from Nils Nielsen, the head coach of Japan?
I think under Nils, and just given what we've already seen, is the Nadeshiko are fearless. I don't think they're going to sit back like we have seen them before. They seem to be absorbing pressure a lot better. And if it's anything compared to the Australia or Colombia matches, they are absolutely deadly with that final ball. They want to get those shots off. I think that this will be a true test. And obviously, we can guesstimate who could possibly be in the starting 11. I'm going to assume that it's going to be Jane Campbell in goal. And so we talked about how she hadn't really been tried. This will be the test. The back line are going to get a lot of work, nevertheless, and she's going to be tried and tried and tried again. I think Mina Tanaka still got more goals in her boots. Tanikawa's absolute rip of a goal. They have a few options for goal scoring, and I think that their backline, Minami, Forza Roma, is pretty tough back there in that center back pairing, depending upon what lineup they put out. Because the other thing, I know we've talked about everything else about Japan, is that they are probably the only other team in this tournament with the incredible depth that the US have.
A lot of depth for Japan, but let's try it, guys. Let's take a whack at Emma Hayes' starting lineup. Christine, I'm going with you first. You already mentioned Jane Campbell, but who else do you have? Run through your lineup for us quickly.
Yeah, so the way that I'm seeing it, I liked that top line that we saw against Colombia. So Ali Sentnor, Kat, Yaz. I thought that really worked well. So I wouldn't mind going that again. I feel like what we've seen of Ali Sentnor so far, whether subbed on or starting, is really promising.
Who's in your midfield?
Midfield is going to be, again, Heaps. I want Lily back again. I feel like she'll be really, really good against Japan. She's got incredible composure that I think I underestimated prior to even seeing her with her first start. And then backline, I think the only change that I would make from what I initially said is I think I probably favor Dunn over Neiswanger in that left back role, only because I feel like the defensive asks will be more against Japan. And I think Japan will pick Neiswanger apart back there.
Ooh, I also have Dunn in my back line. I'm going to run you through mine, guys. I have Jane Campbell in net. I think she's going to get the start. Back line, Dunn, Sonnet, Sams, Fox, a trio of Emily's back there to lock things down. A little bit of youth, a little bit of experience, a little bit of going forward, understanding that Japan, I think Emma Hayes is going to play to win. In the midfield, I want Sam Coffey and Lily Johannes getting the start, and Jaden Shaw in the 10. I think we need to give her another run that's not so chaotic as Australia was. And then up top, Ali Sentnor, she deserves it. Give her more time. Lynn Biondolo in the middle. And give Michelle Cooper a start. She has proven herself. Give her time to run against a Japanese team, and with Shaw underneath her and Lynn on side of her with Ali Sentnor. And that could be a fun front three: Sentnor, Biondolo, and Cooper.
I feel that. Yeah, I feel that. I've got something similar. I've got Campbell and Ned. I've got the three-headed Emily with Crystal Dunn to kind of cap that out. I think they got to go. I think I'm in agreement that Emma Hayes is trying some things, but she's still a gamer. She wants to win. And I think she's going to maybe return to that midfield trio that we saw in game one. I think we're going to see Coffee, Heaps, Johannes in some capacity. Honestly, if you're going to keep that familiarity and give maybe a little bit of a front 6-5 at times, go with that same three. I go with Ryan and Macario and Sentner. Let's see it again. Run it back. I want to see it again. So, of course, because I want to see it, we probably won't. But I think there's something to be said here as well in this type of game where we can also see those defensive efforts that Yasmin Ryan is capable of and the backtracking that Ali Sentner is so very good at it. I think it's a very deeply underrated skill set of hers as such a young player, kind of her recovery rate. So I think they're going to need a lot of that in this game because it is Japan. So I want to see those two attackers to get the start again.
I like that. I hated going after Sandra because she's probably right. So I had Campbell, right to left, Fox, Sam, Sonnet, Niswanger. I think we still need to see Jenna Niswanger get tested more and more. I think when there's questions of, I think they're going to attack the left side, we all put Crystal Dunn there.
Yeah,
because she's so safe and trustworthy. But we need to see Niswanger become that player that we don't have any question marks about on that side. Midfield, Coffee, Johannes, Heaps. I think just looking at minutes and Heaps being a player that's in form in season right now with Lyon, that's the player that you're going to start. I think we'll see Shaw come in a little bit later, but it's preseason. Then the front line, I have Sentnor, Macario, and Cooper. Give Cooper the start.
Yes.
Let her go run at this back line because she is just going to mow over people. And I think this is the game to let her just go out and try. I mean, she's got the freshness of like no expectation on her. And I think that that's really contagious to play with. Same with Sentnor. And to have Macario there to be the one that's a little bit more stable in the 9. Let him fly.
You know what? We very much could get that. I feel like the fact that we're like, that would be great. However, we don't think so. I feel like it could happen.
I would be very surprised if Emma Hayes does the same line as she did in either of the other games, though. This was a chance in a tournament for her to just try a bunch of different things. And as much as I think Coffee, Johannes, Heaps could be the midfield, I don't think Hayes would do that. I think she would want to try someone different. We'll see.
Maybe she'll put Hutton in there instead of...
Maybe.
Yeah.
With Coffee?
Oh, yeah.
Like Coffee, Hutton. Yeah, I mean,
that could be fun. And then Heaps. I do think
Heaps.
Heaps
I feel like that would stabilize it a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, scoreline, guys. Let us know. What do you think? Darian, I'm going to start with you now.
I will go, I'm going to say 2-1. I think it's going to be a close game. I think Japan, we have to respect how much they're scoring right now. But I do think the U.S. is going to get the win. 2-1.
I think these are two teams that respect each other too much. In fact, and it's because of that reason I think it's going to be another 1-0 scoreline. USA.
I'm going the opposite. We're swinging for the fences. I'm going 3-2. I think there's going to be goals in this game because I think that both are going to be so fierce in this. And also bearing in mind that Emma Hayes has already said, like, listen, this is proving ground, but also there's a trophy. So I think that players are going to be more locked in. Like, let me get this done. There's gonna be a lot of fight in it, and Japan are not gonna roll over.
Japan has often sat back against the United States. I could see them doing it again, but I'm going to go 2-1. Japan still gets one, but the U.S. get the win in the end. Our poll on YouTube has 60% of you say that the U.S. is going to win, 26% that Japan's going to win, 13% say it's a draw. Now, if it's a draw, the U.S. will most likely not win the SheBelieves Cup tournament because the
streak will end.
Japan sits atop the standings right now with their goal differential of 7 so far, and they've won all their games. But we will be watching it. Of course, this is a match that's happening Wednesday night. You can watch the U.S. take on Japan. Kickoff is at 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. We will be live on YouTube immediately following the game. So like this video and subscribe so you get alerts for when we go live. Yes, it will be past midnight. We're doing a late night one, Sandra. We're staying live. we're live all the time. We often give our best takes and best analysis when it is past 12 in the morning for us.
We love the late night vibes. Come join us.
It is the late night vibes. You can watch it live on Golazo Network and, of course, watch the U.S. women's national team. So we've got a show Wednesday night following the U.S. game against Japan. Thanks for hanging with us, guys. Fun episode today. It was good to have you back, Sandra. Thanks, everyone on YouTube for tuning in, or if you listened as a pod, we so appreciate it. For Mark, Darian, Christine, and Sandra, and Lisa, this was Attacking Third.